Hello everyone, I'm Dan McDermott. This is Google Plus Week, our unofficial look at the week's news about the coolest social network we think on the internet. Joining me live from around the country and around the world is a Google Plus Hangout. I want to welcome our folks from all over the place, including Bruce Turner, who is in, I guess you live in Lynchburg, but we're not exactly sure where you are, so I'm going to talk to you in just a second. But first, I want to tell folks that you can give us a call. Our audio number, if you can't get in the Google Hangout, or if you're driving and you want to just call, like if Bruce loses his signal, he can call us at 818-688-6625. That, again, is 818-688-6625. And we can have up to 50 people there listening or talking with us. You can just call and listen. I don't even know you've called. And then, of course, we have the Google Hangout. So let me go to Bruce, who's in our Google Hangout. Bruce, you are driving, right?
Yeah, that's right. I'm actually coming back. Our band just finished playing a gig somewhere. I'm on Highway 460 in Lynchburg, Virginia. You know, one of the things I like about Google Hangouts when you're driving is when you go through a green light, it just does something for your lighting, you know?
It does. I've noticed you look, it's pretty sort of a Grateful Dead kind of look. Probably the only person with that kind of look in the Lynchburg area, Central Virginia. We're about 3 hours apart. I have one of my newspapers is in Lynchburg, and so I can hang out there and here. So I think that's how we met. But anyway, so that's cool. So how do you like the mobile Hangouts? I guess you can't start one now. You're using the Apple app, so you're on an iPhone.
Right. You know, they launched an upgrade to the iPhone app this week, and one of the things I was really hoping for, and I can tell you one of the things, the iPhone app, for the Google Plus iPhone app, is a lot faster than it's ever been when it comes to getting your messages and stuff like that. The one thing that really remains is to be able to initiate a Hangout from the app. I knew that you would be on tonight, and I knew I'd be driving home, and I might have a good chance of getting on. So, sure enough, I went to my Google Plus circles and saw the Hangout button, pushed it, launched it, and I'm here. But it would be nice if you could initiate one. But it's nice to join.
I agree. That would be neat, and I'm not sure. I know there are workarounds. You know, ways to scam it. You could start one at home, and then of course the one thing you can do, you could start one at home, and you can get in your car and just join it because you can be in a Hangout twice.
That's true.
I'm not sure why they allow that, but that's cool. But it's still a limit of 10, so you would take up your two of your spots there. Okay, Scott Swain, I know you're itching to get on this. Do you use the Apple? Do you use the iOS app, or do you use the Android app, or just are you a desktop guy?
No, I don't. I use the desktop only so far.
Okay. Anybody else want to weigh in on this? I guess not. Okay. All right. I'm picking on Scott. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk a little bit about the Android app, which was just updated, and that's pretty cool. If anybody in the Google Hangout wants to talk about the Android app, just let me know in the chat room there. But I looked at some of the things. Let's see here. They've got some new features. It looks they leaked a version of it before for the new. It was, I guess, supposed to be the ice cream sandwich version. I don't know if that was accurate or if it was simply the next version that leaked, and it kind of worked, but it was a little buggy. But it was not officially. But I guess it's a completely new app. So I guess they built it from the ground up. And it has battery life improvements, so it's not as much of a resource hog, but I didn't find it to be a resource hog before, but I didn't use it that often. Navigation and performance improvements, a significant notification improvement. I haven't seen the difference yet, but I guess it's there. A new user interface for posting, several bug fixes, support for Google Apps users. That was a thing we talked about last week, the Google App integration. And an ability to sign out. I guess they didn't have that option before. Once you were in, you were in. And sort of like a Hangout used to be until today or yesterday. And you can add people to a circle from a circle profile. So just, you know, some little tweaks, nothing major. But it's a slightly better looking app, and it's cool, it's functional. And it's actually the reason that I got an Android over an Apple iPhone was because I wanted or I had a BlackBerry, and I was frustrated that it's basically impossible to use Google Plus on a BlackBerry. You have to use their awful browser. So anyway, I went with Android because mainly that was the impetus, was to be able to use Google Plus on my phone. And now I just got invited to a gentleman. There's some folks in Malaysia and in Libya, and I'm in used to be called a huddle. Guys, anybody in the huddle, what's it called now, or in the Hangout? Is it Messenger now? What's
I think it's just called. I think it's just called Messenger now.
Okay. So anyway, that's the new Android app. Anybody have any thoughts on the Android app or the? I know that we're going to get into the Apple when Alan comes in. But okay, let's Chrome integration. I guess what is going on with the Chrome integration? I guess now, like I'm looking at Chrome, and now you've got the little plus sign there. I'm not sure what else. Anthony, did you look at that at all? Are you a Chrome user?
You know, actually, I haven't had the opportunity to look at it, but from what I understand is you now can share things from, you know, any web page, because you have the share box on any web page instead of just Google pages.
Right.
And that you can now easily +1 any web page that you're on.
Okay. Yeah, that's cool. They keep innovating, and I like that. That's great. And then there were so many features that they've announced. Another one is the YouTube slider, which is just, I guess you have a little YouTube icon when you're in Plus, and you can slide it over, and you can type in. It works really great. I love it. It's almost, I would describe it as somewhere in between on regular Google search when it says, "Are you feeling lucky?" which means, you know, type a search term in and click "I'm feeling lucky," and it takes you to the first item that would be in the search. It just takes you straight there. Now that feature is largely obsolete now, because if you have Chrome, they've got Google Instant, where you just start typing and it just loads the page. Like if you go to Drudge Report all the time, like I assume Bruce probably does, then you just have to hit D and it will immediately load Drudge Report. That's it. And you don't even have to hit enter. So it's very cool. So that's the YouTube slider. I guess Harold, you let me bring you in on this. What do you think about the practical implications here? Is this a gimmick, silly, great, huge innovation? What do you think?
Well, the YouTube slider, one of the things that I've been playing with it, and one of the nice things that you can do with it, instead of just using it as a search, if you type in your name, like in my instance, my YouTube name is Utah Webman. So if I type in Utah Webman, it'll bring up every single one that I have uploaded there. And what I'd like it to be able to do is to be able to bring your favorites up. I can't figure out how to do that yet, but maybe they'll. But because, like you said, every time you type in a word or something like that, it does a search. But it also will bring up your photos if you type in your YouTube username.
Okay.
Your videos, yeah.
And didn't you find, like I did a test, I said Google Plus Week, and I did a couple tests, and it really did great search results. Did you notice that? It wasn't a bunch of garbage, irrelevant things.
Yeah, it brings up, I typed in, like I said, I work with the Navajo people, and I typed in Navajo, and it brought up the most popular Navajo videos that are out there. So it worked really well in that particular case.
Okay, yeah, I agree. I liked it too. Anthony, what are your thoughts on this?
I think it's more or less, well, I don't want to say gimmicky, but it's more or less like trying to bring in the YouTube property into Google Plus, you know, get cross traffic. It's interesting. I guess if you want to do a quick YouTube search, and you see it there and you go, oh, let me do a quick YouTube search. Like, I think that's more the idea of it is, you know, you'll see something come across your stream and you go, oh, I see the YouTube slider, and, you know, let me do a search for, you know, a YouTube video based on this. I used it very briefly, and you're right, it does bring up fairly relevant results.
Yeah, I like it too. I agree with you. I was pleasantly surprised at the quality of the results I got, especially when I typed Google Plus Week and I saw lots of our previous shows, which was a good thing. Okay, just I want to make one just as a side note. It's kind of interesting. I just saw that. I don't know how long this has been going on, but Diaspora. I just saw this right at the beginning of the show. That's the alternative to Facebook, and they raised some money, and when everyone was mad about privacy issues, and this group came together, and they said, and Leo Laporte from Twit said he was going to, he gave him a check. They are in alpha now, so you could sign up and you can get, and some people are using it. So I haven't heard any review yet, but it'll be really interesting to see if what people think about it. So again, if you're in the Google Hangout, I'm going to check it. Is Bruce still? Oh, we lost Bruce, I guess. He was mobile. And now I've just messed up my little signage here. So okay. Now another little feature here is, like as I said here, we have at our Hangout, when you first start a Hangout, now it'll tell you. You get a little notification that there are live Hangouts going on. As an alternative to starting your own, you could join, like, oh, well, I wanted to talk to Anthony and Scott or whoever. They're already in a Hangout. So instead of starting my own, then I could just join their Hangout. And I guess Scott or someone was saying that that's a slight, I was thinking that this was kind of a replacement for that. I guess there's a website and a Chrome plugin that's gotten popular that lists live Hangouts, because this wasn't a feature you could easily find within Google Plus. But then someone corrected me. Maybe it was Alan before he's putting his kid to sleep. But he'll be back hopefully. So anyway, that's the live Hangout list. It just tells you just kind of Alan, I guess you corrected me and said it's not really a replacement. The live Hangout list. I can't even remember, what is the Chrome extension that I'm talking about?
That would be Hangout Canopy that I think you're thinking about.
Yeah. I was thinking this was just basically made that moot, but is that inaccurate?
Yeah. Hangout Canopy, as I understand it, is almost a collection of all of the public Hangouts that are available. What this Hangout list is supposed to do is provide you with a list of all of the Hangouts that you're permitted to. And that might include public ones, but it's specifically the ones that you're permitted to. Now, honestly, I've had some problems with this list. In trying to get in here tonight, every time I joined it, it told me that I was trying to get to a Hangout that didn't exist. So there's still some bugs to be worked out with this feature yet, I think.
I know, it's awful, and I'm going to demand a full refund from Google for all the money I've spent.
And I bet Vic would get right on that for you.
Yeah, he'd probably send me a blank check or empty check.
I would love a blank check from Google.
Do we still? I know when you do Hangouts with extras, which is what we're using, which is not really necessary for me, but for what I do in this show. But it lets you share documents. I know Scott likes to do that. You can share pictures. You can do more collaborative things. It's more geared for enterprise use, I guess. It still says you can try these for a limited time. Has anyone asked in any of these interviews? I keep waiting for someone to say, are you going to start charging for the more advanced level of Hangouts? Has anyone heard anyone weigh in on that?
In one of the early conversations about it, they kind of implied that eventually all Hangouts are going to be Hangouts with extras. And there's also, there are a bunch of Hangout features that are coming down the pike. So there's going to have to be something going on someday that puts all of these things together. My guess is that the basic features like the doc integration, the sketch integration, the YouTube integration, they're probably going to keep that as part of a basic feature, although it wouldn't surprise me if the Hangouts on Air, if some of the other slightly more advanced features do make it into a more commercial offering. I think certainly they could make money with it. People like GoToMeeting are now, so.
Okay, yeah, I can't imagine the fear that's running through some of those folks who have commercial services similar. You know, anytime Google even looks in your direction, I imagine you start freaking out. You know, because there were a lot of things that were. There are a lot of things that are free now that people used to pay for. I mean, I guess Netscape was a commercial product, right?
Netscape started its life as a purely commercial product and very quickly opened up their browser for free.
After Microsoft did.
Well,
Or created
even more complicated than that, but basically, yeah. And then, you know, tried to offer their server offering. The history of Netscape is ridiculous and amusing in many ways.
Now, one of the other things that we've discussed frequently. I don't know. I want to get Monica's thoughts on this, and I want to get Harold Carey, because really the first person who brought this up, Harold Carey, you were in the longest hangout ever, and I remember that was I said, you know what, you I guess would meet every week with the hangout team. They would come into your hangout, and whoever was in your hangout, I don't know if it was a scheduled thing or if they would just all show up. But the first thing you were harping on was something we experienced. If you look at the last show, I guess this is episode 15, so if you look at the October 28th, 2011 show at the end, I had to shut the show down early because I had these hackers in there, and they were muting everybody, so I had to end it. And then Google sprang into action and quickly had this new moderation feature. So they have moderation controls where you can, I'll see if I'm going to demo this here. Let's see, if I have a hangout here, if you look on the screen, I'm going to position it over Bruce, who's gotten home, I see. And if I put Bruce, he's kind of a rabble-rouser, you know, likes to get whiskey bent and held bound down there in Lynchburg. But if I put my mouse here over Bruce, I can mute him, and that's what the hacker guys were doing last week. Or I can block him, and it tells me his name right there on I'm looking on the middle, on the right side there where my mouse is. So anyway, the way it works, it will put him in my block list, and which takes up one of your 5,000 people you can circle, and I won't see him or hear him, but anybody else can. And the way the Hangout works is whoever's speaking, they pop up in the large picture, and unless you click on somebody, like I've got Harold clicked here, and I'm going to click because I'm about to ask him about this. But Harold, basically, this is wonderful, and don't you wish you had this when you first started the longest hangout? What are your thoughts? Have you played with this? I guess you're just kind of getting the Google Plus groove now tonight.
Yeah, we got the longest hangout group together this morning, and we created 2 phony people, and we kept blocking them in and out. What we found out, though, that it's extremely hard to get that person back in. What you have to do is you have to completely go out of the hangout and add him back to your circle, because when you block someone, it takes them out of your circle. And so for that person to come back in again, you have to go add them to your circle.
Yeah, so it's not permanent.
Yeah.
Okay.
No.
Monica, what do you think? Have you experienced any issues with being in a hangout and having it being taken over?
Yeah. I've run across quite a few people that of different types that have caused issues because I hang out a lot. And before this feature was implemented, basically you'd have to just hope that they would leave the hangout. You know, there are different types of, like, sometimes you run into young kids. I don't know if you've run into the group of people who name themselves lulzsec. Were they the people who came into your hangout and were muting everyone? Because that's their sort of stock and trade. But there are a few people that, you know, will join hangouts, make inappropriate gestures, and if you're lucky, you know, they would leave the hangout and you'd have to immediately block them so they couldn't get back in. The thought with the new block feature is that if you ignore them so that you're no longer responding to them, they will basically want to go away.
Yeah, but if you block them and then you make a hangout public, I guess they would not see it on your page, but anybody who was in the hangout, I'm speculating here, but let's say that I announced a hangout publicly, and let's say Harold was blocked, and he wouldn't see it on my page because he can't, you know, I can't see any of my public posts because I've blocked him. And then if you join the hangout and he had you circled, I guess he would see it on your page, perhaps. I don't know, but this seems a good way to do it.
Well,
Go
well,
ahead.
really, they will still see your content. It's just that you won't see them. Blocking is like, I don't know if you ever used IRC, but it's like the ignore feature. Essentially, you are ignoring them, and when you put them on block, everyone in the Hangout is going to, get the feature that you're ignoring them. So
Okay.
you're not going to receive their video feed. You're not going to receive their audio feed. And so the thought is that, like, hopefully that everyone else would kind of jump on that bandwagon too.
Yeah, the only flaw I can see, I'm thrilled with this. Okay, Harold, yeah, correct. This is my point here, that they would still take up a space, but you're saying that that's inaccurate.
Well, the way it works is if you start blocking people, if you block this person, it actually goes into two places. It takes them off your circle and it puts them in the block list. So if anybody if he tries to come in another hangout, even if it's a public hangout, and somebody in there has blocked him, he cannot get in there. So basically, if a bunch of people have blocked that person can never come in a hangout that you're in.
Okay, Alan, this seems like a good way to do it, don't you think?
I think it's probably the best, easiest way that they have. I've seen a lot of talk about people worried that what this can do in some cases is create split conversations, where half of a hangout has the other half blocked and vice versa. And now everybody in the hangout doesn't have a complete picture of what's going on. I've seen a lot of people talking about how what this will end up, that this will end up causing more confusion than it is, and that really they should just create, real moderator functions and make it so the owner of the hangout has full control and so forth and so on. I think that's kind of against the spirit of what they're trying to do with Hangouts, though. So I think this was it's easy, it's very simple, it's easy to explain how it works. You don't have complicated problems about, well, who's moderating it now? How do you transfer the moderator power? Oh, please, oh, please, oh, please, oh, please, can I be a moderator too? Please, please, can I have power? You don't get anything like that. So I think this was a fairly good solution, even though it's going to have a lot of people criticizing it.
Okay, yeah, I think it's a good way to do it, because I mean, I don't own this Hangout. If I leave and you folks carry on, then that's fine. It's just like we've always said. It's like a public square. It's like a table at a coffee shop. People come and go, and you don't take the table with you, even if you were the first one to sit there.
I think that's something that people really don't understand yet, is that Hangouts, there's no such thing as a private Hangout. There are private invitations to a Hangout, but there's no such thing as a private Hangout. It's all essentially semi-public space. We're just sitting, it's just 10 of us sitting at a table at a time.
Bruce, you had something?
Well, yeah, this is new to me. I mean, I'm glad to see this, and I'm glad I got into the show so that I could learn about this, because I do Hangouts every week. This is the first time I've seen this first Hangout I've done where I've seen these features. And so my question, which I no longer need to ask right now, is that anybody can block anybody. It's not pure moderator controls like Alan was saying.
Correct.
So
they're still there. Like if I block you, right, I can't see you, I can't hear you, but the other 8 people can hear you and see you, but they'll get in the chat room. I assume. Correct me, Harold. I guess in the chat it tells you Dan McDermott blocked Bruce, right?
Yes. Yeah. In the room, what happens like you said, it's exactly as you said. That person is blocked, and they can't hear you talk. You could be talking about him, and everybody in the Hangout that's with you can see him and can see that you blocked him, and so they can decide if they want to block him or not. So that's the way it was set up.
Well, I think this is an interesting thing, because it really gives total freedom. I mean, if you're in a public hangout, which I don't spend a lot of time in public hangouts, but if I'm in a public hangout, or anybody's in a public hangout, and there's something going on that they don't like, or they feel uncomfortable with, or they're offended by, then they can block it, and that doesn't affect everybody else. I think this is probably a good solution. Now that I think about it, and I'm also testing the new mic that Mike Phillips recommended. This is the Audio Technica ATR 2100. So I still got my Yeti over here, but I'm using this other mic. I don't know how it sounds. What do you think?
It sounds good.
I'm digging it. Yeah, I'm digging it. I like it.
Yeah.
I think by the end of the year, we're all going to have that mic.
Yeah.
Mike?
I see, and Scott's got it. This is going to be a lot easier to travel with. I fly every month, and it's going to take, when you think about it, which one's going to take up the most room?
Yeah, I've got a Shure, a KS. This is like a KSM 32. It's pretty big. It sounds good.
Oh yeah.
But then that one, I think, is that the one that's like $45 or something ridiculous?
$47, something like that.
Yeah, this was $500. And when Mike has his $500 Electro Voice or whatever, or his Heil, and then he has his $45. There's more low end on the fancy one, but really the audio quality overall for what we're doing, there's certainly not it's not 10 times better. So yeah, that's great, and it's also that mic is we're totally off topic. That mic is USB or XLR cable, correct?
Correct.
So yeah, it's amazing what you can get.
It's my Google Plus mic. Back on topic.
All right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you can talk about anything. I guess anything we talk about is about Google Plus because we're on Google Plus doing it. Okay, so then I wanted to talk really quick about the API, which is always just a ratings bonanza for the show when we talk about when Alan gets into intricate programming details.
Hey, I know every time I bring up a topic, it rakes in another -5 viewers, and we're always excited to hear about it, but I've said it before, I've said it again, Hangouts are the killer API feature for Google+. APIs are just going to be, it's going to be a total massacre in Facebook when the Hangout API goes live.
Okay, for folks who are not geeks, an API is a programming interface. Just kind of briefly explain the practical application of it, and what are some practical uses for this? This lets you get into it lets you have your own application or program and be able to get information or interact with Google.
What this will let people do is they will be able to create programs that run inside a Hangout that were not developed by Google. So right now, when we look at Hangouts with Extras, we see features like share documents, share sketchpad areas, share things off your desktop, share YouTube videos. With the API, this means that anybody has a way to share anything that you can possibly dream up. When we talk to the Google Hangout people, they're very interested in hearing how educators want to use Hangouts, not just to see everyone else visually, but possibly creating shared whiteboards. Is there going to be a way that we could do shared lab demonstrations using a Hangout without a video camera? Those sorts of things. What other applications can we run that we will want everyone to see and share at the same time through a Hangout? And then that's where the API is exciting. My personal interest is seeing how this could be used, for example, in news reporting. How is this going to be able to be used for telemedicine? I've heard people talk about. I'm very interested in seeing how it's going to be used with games. I think this will create games that are far more interesting than the games that we currently have on Google+.
As far as news reporting, because obviously that's the business I'm in, I think it'd be neat, because like right now I'm using Wirecast, which is a software mixer. Other folks, like Leo, uses the TriCaster, which is sort of a similar product. It's just they sell it in a computer. It's a hardware box, and I just have a program you put on a computer. But it would be neat if you had some switching like that, like some Chiron, like I have here on our show. But I've got about 10 grand worth of junk in here to make this work. It'd be neat if some of these features were built in. And I can sense, I don't know, but I can sense an overall. Maybe I'm imagining this, but it seems to me like the quality is a little better than I've seen in the past. That maybe they're tweaking.
It's funny you say that. It's funny you say that. I was on with some people in the Hangout team yesterday, and one of the complaints from somebody else who came in was that the Hangouts with Extras, which we're using tonight, had worse video quality. So I don't know what the truth is, and I think Google would probably be the first ones to say no. It's exactly the same. Is my guess at what they'd say.
Because you look amazing. I mean, and that's saying something.
I know. I always look amazing.
That's that's saying something. All right, so let's see. The other thing I wanted to, I guess there was this new little feature. This seems dumb, but it's so obvious, and they didn't have it because we love Google, but they're a bunch of engineers, and sometimes they don't think like the little people like us who use it, right? And they didn't have a send message button. The way you send a message in Google Plus is you create a post, and then you choose, who to send it to, and if the last post you did had included the word public, then the next time you share a post, by default, public's in there, and you have to remember to remove it. Well, Steve Yagi will attest that is not a perfect solution. He's the Google engineer. He got in trouble, or got I'm sure fussed at extensively when he did sort of a rant. And it accidentally got leaked because he didn't delete public. So now they have a feature. It's basically the same functionality. It just creates a status update, and it puts that single person. But if you're looking at someone's profile, optionally you can say send an email. And I do that, and I wish everyone did that because it doesn't reveal your email address. It just lets them send an email, unless you're a celebrity and you're going to get too many. So I have that on mine. And then it also says send a message. And when you click on that, it just creates a post like you normally do. And it would say Dan McDermott as the only recipient. And public's not there. What's cool about that is as the Facebook people come over and they're looking for a real social network where you send someone a message, that it just makes sense. And that feature is sort of, I guess, for newbies. It's not something we would normally use.
I don't know about that, Dan. I use it all the time now. It's one of the things that I frequently do when I get when I get somebody who's following me, and I want to see if I'm interested in following them. I'll look at their profile. I look at their posts, and if they seem like reasonable people, I'll send them a message that says, "Hey, why'd you follow me? How'd you find out about me?" It's now far easier to do that directly from their profile page. So I think it's a feature that even longtime users will want to use.
I know, because Scott does that. Scott, you have a tendency, when you communicate with me, you will go to my profile and you'll click, it'll say sent via your profile email link, because that's the convenient way you found, as opposed to going to a regular status update or whatever you call it. I don't even know, share a post, and then deleting public and typing Dan McDermott in there. You'll tend to send it that way, right? You just prefer that.
I do both. Yeah.
I guess because I didn't see this until today. I haven't really used it yet, but that's interesting. Yeah, you're right. If you're looking at, checking somebody out, and that is a convenient, quick way. So that's a very simple thing that I guess just didn't occur to anybody. Go ahead, Anthony.
It might help when you're viewing someone's profile page that just offhand, and you're seeing something interesting that makes you want to send them a message. You can just go up to the top of the page and click the send the message thing. That might be a useful scenario for this.
Yeah, I think it's cool. It's a very simple thing, and it's neat. Another simple thing that they've done. I don't know who wants to weigh in on this, but +1 for photos. There is no shortage of photographers on Google+. And I think I'm surprised they haven't done that yet before, but I guess it just, I don't know. I mean, does this matter? Is this other than, like, I put a photo up tonight, and immediately I had this idea as a tie-in, because like in Front Royal, like many towns, people are upset, or the downtown merchants are struggling because the shopping centers are built, and Walmart and Kohl's and everybody, and nobody goes downtown. And we have this beautiful downtown, like a lot of communities. And so I created a poster. I have one of I did a ghetto version, and I sent it to my layout guys, and I said, hey, can you ask Jeff, who's the best one we got. They're both great, but I said, hey, can you make this prettier? And so he did. It was perfect. But it's occupy Main Street, shop, dine, browse, support local merchants. It's just a funny way to say it. And so I see a bunch of people are plus oneing. I think they're plus oneing it, the post, but I don't know if they can plus one the photo itself. I'm not sure. It's got plus
Yes, you can.
6. Okay. Yeah, so they're sharing.
Yeah, what you
it
do
there.
is you open up the photo and then click on it, and then there's a +1 at the bottom.
Okay. Okay, I see. Oh, it's got plus 16, 4 shares, a mini viral outbreak on my little, but that's
You can
cool.
see it now on. I brought it up on the screen share, so you can see it now.
Oh, okay, cool.
And yeah, you've got a nice plus 16 at the bottom there.
Heck yeah. It's hard to be the man, Alan. Jeff did a good job with the font there. I just thought it was funny, you know, and a good message. You know, hey, come to Main Street, occupy that. They could use it because that's what it's all about. That's a lot of the frustration is the. So anyway, all right, cool. So we like that. Anybody else want to talk about that? Does this matter? I mean, is this other than saying I like what your photo?
I think it matters a lot, and more we're going to start seeing the +1s mattering when we talk about the what's hot area in Google Plus. When we talk about search results, more and more these +1s are going to really start mattering, I think.
Okay. You were. I don't think you were a big fan of the what's hot.
I'm not a big fan of the what's hot.
Because you think it's wrong, or
because I get it. Well, there are two problems with it in my mind. The first is that in order for something to show up in what's hot, it means that it has to appear in a lot of people's streams. And if I'm getting in my streams a whole bunch already, I don't need to see it in one more place. Second, I've heard from at least 3 people so far who are complaining about the what's hot showing up as part of the stream itself. I had one person actually post a very nice rant essentially saying, why do I have this pole dancer showing up in the middle of my screen while I'm at work? So, you know, if you're limiting yourself to your circles because you know your circles aren't going to do that to you, a what's hot showing up in your stream can really mess things up pretty quickly.
Maybe it's a little bit too hot.
it's a good thing we don't all have Anthony's stream at work. We'd be in trouble. I'm picking on Anthony. Okay. Yeah, I think I guess it's cool. You know, it's nice to know people like it, and it's a quick and easy way for people to say, hey, this is cool, without having to type, you know, lol or awesome or, you know, whatever. They can just click like. Okay, now I want to talk about highlighting journalists. This is cool. My newspapers, when we do a story, it'll go into Google News. And if anyone wants to talk about this, please tell me in the chat that you want to talk about this. But in Google News, it'll say it'll have like your name. Like I posted a couple yesterday, and they show up. It'll say by Dan McDermott or Roger Bianchini, whoever it is. And then what they're going to do is you have to set it up a little bit, but it will actually, in Google News, if there's a journalist who is on Google Plus, it will say, like it'll say, my name, Dan McDermott, and he says he has however many followers, and then you can circle him right in Google News. So it's very cool and convenient. And it's a great way to encourage journalists to get on Google Plus, because they're going to see other journalists have this, and they don't, and then they're all going to get on there. And then obviously, if you have any kind of product or service, you want journalists to all be using it so that they write about it, right? So this is cool. But the way it works is you have to go to your profile. Yep. First of all, you have to be a contributor to a site that is picked up by Google News, a news site. And you go to your website and you say contributor to, and that's a new thing in your edit profile. You can say contributor to, and then I listed the 3 sites. And then you have to go on to the site, and there has to be a link back to your profile on the website, either on a site basis or a per story basis. So then they can see the connection. They know it's really you and that you're really there. And then they will put that on with Google News. They'll do it. Now I haven't seen it yet because I just did it yesterday. And I haven't posted anything with my byline on any of the newspapers yet since I did it. But it'll be interesting to see how that works. I think that's cool. I think it's a great way to get journalists excited about Google Plus. And then, Alan, let me. What do you think? I think this is cool, and this is also a good way. Obviously, we'll be excited about it because it's a new way for people to discover our content and to come check us out on Plus, where we put some of our best stuff is on Plus. Although it's usually briefer and not as like spell checked. It's not like the 6 layers that when I put something in the print product that it goes through. But this is cool, isn't it?
I think it is, although I've got some concerns, and this is more a question for you, Dan. I'm going to turn the tables on you a little bit. One of the things that it seems like this does, from what I can tell, is increases the personal brand of your reporters. And I'm a little concerned that it might be decreasing your corporate brand. So it's, and I know if you, the top names at the New York Times, you've always known who the big guys were there. It seems to me like it's going to be trying to do that for all of their reporters now, and kind of decreasing the value of, saying it's from the New York Times. I'm wondering if you see that, or if you think that, or what your concerns there would be.
I think it's a legitimate observation. It's not a concern. In the newspaper business, nobody's going to pick up a paper because like it's Warren County Report or the Washington Post or the New York Times. I mean, they will, but really the stories sell the paper. That's why we all dumb down our masthead. The New York Times, Washington Post, my papers, it's all pretty basic headline of the paper. I mean, the name of the paper. We don't make it all flashy colors because that's not what's going to sell it. What's going to sell it is a picture of they got Gaddafi or this is going on, or the mayor had the pie in his face. You got the big picture on the cover. That's why people pick up the paper. It's getting more into personal branding. Like we had Becky Graham on here, and she's probably still gonna do some stuff with us, but she is a television reporter, and she just did, I think, 3 years at I forget what state, and they actually told her that she, like each day she was supposed to send at least 3 tweets and a Facebook update and to sort of interact with people. So they like this, and it does make the personalities more important than in the past they might have been, but it's always been that way. I mean, it's always been, they don't watch when we were kids, everyone watched Walter Cronkite. Everyone watched CBS Evening News because of Walter Cronkite. And then I loved This Week with David Brinkley because it was David Brinkley. And when they get, I mean, look at how the ratings have suffered on Meet the Press initially when the host changes. So it's still about the personalities, about the writing content. So yeah, it's an observation, but I think it's still a good thing.
The other thing I find interesting about this particular aspect is that this is the exact same thing that they're doing for all brands right now. You know how they've told companies that no, you're not allowed to have your company brand on here yet. You have to have an individual representative. And even as Google themselves are doing announcements, those announcements are coming from individual people, not from Google as a whole. So I think this is a trend that we're seeing more and more coming out of Google, is that they're trying to make things very personal and remove the big brand behind things, which is kind of funny coming from a big brand.
I think that's a good observation. It's funny to see Vic, who's when he does a video, he'll just say, "Hello, I'm Vic, an engineer on the Google Plus team," and that's like Joe Biden saying, "I'm the, I'm a member of the White House staff." But yeah, I like that. It's personal, and it all goes. It's smart because I even saw, just as a wild analogy, I was in a coffee shop in Apple Blossom Mall in Winchester, and it wasn't a chain, or it was, I forget what it's called, just some nice coffee shop, the Starbucks knockoff, and they had on the menu board, they had their drink specials, like smoothies and stuff, not alcohol, but they had each employee, like 5 or 6 employees, had their own, like Josh's raspberry smoothie, Sarah's cappuccino mocha, whatever, and it just kind of had a personal touch that I thought was really neat. It just sort of, these drinks, and they had a picture of the employee next to it and their name, and it was sort of their personal drink. So I think personal branding's a good way to sell. I mean, a website's a website, but it's about the people who post. The reason we read TechCrunch, is because we like the style of those guys.
I think it is too, but I think it's interesting that here is Google pushing this to a whole bunch of other brands and kind of dragging them along. So while they may show up on Twitter as who knows what, and they may show up on Facebook as this faceless corporate identity, here Google is saying, hey, you need a face and you need a person and it needs to be real. Unless, of course, you're a major celebrity. But we're not going into the name wars tonight, are we?
Yeah, you'll get knocked off any recommended list you're on. Anthony, what do you think about this, the notion of brands in this context?
Now, I mean, don't you think that having individual faces of a company almost increases the big brand? Like if you know who Andy Rubin is, or you know who Vic is, or you know who Larry Page is, or you know who Eric Schmidt is, or you know who Sergey is, but you don't know, I mean, this is a bad example, but you don't know who Google is, but you know who Larry Page is, or you know who Eric Schmidt is, and because you know who those individuals are, you know who the big company is.
I think so, and you'll find companies luring people. I think Howard, is it Feynman, went to the Huffington Post, where I blog occasionally, and that was a big coup. I think there was this war between the New York Times and the Huffington Post are in this knockdown, drag out, which is largely composed of crocodile tears because they're both getting publicity about it and drawing more attention to their respective web properties. But it's this battle for people, to get personalities over, and it helps the product. You could have a website. If you let's take an example. Let's say that you hired away Christiane Amanpour from CNN to be the main political writer for your website. Overnight, your website is going to draw the national attention. People like Drudge and Huffington are going to look at your website. They never would have otherwise. You're on the map overnight because you have this national brand name star, celebrity reporter. So I think, if you build them up, and the TV stations do this on purpose. They'll purposefully build up their team. They hire them for a 3-year contract. They put their face on the billboard on the side of the news van, and that's the way that they differentiate. I mean, what's the real difference between Channel 3 or 8 or 9? It's that we've got Gordon Peterson, and then there's a big, when he moves from Channel 9 to Channel 7 in D.C., it's a big thing, because he's a 30-year anchor. So I think it's a good thing, and it's certainly good. It's not good for me if I have to pay people more, but so it goes. All right, so let's see. Anybody else wanted to weigh in on this topic before we move? Scott, you said about privacy? Was that? Go ahead, Scott.
Okay, well, I had
an
epiphany about privacy.
Your mic's not working, Scott.
You can't hear me?
It's a delay. You're okay. Go ahead, Scott.
Oh, you are hearing me. Just delayed.
Okay.
Yes? Okay. And I'm not sure how much. Here's my disclaimer. I'm not sure how new this is. You guys can tell me. But I was thinking about how privacy is often, like in the past, maybe we are wired to get angry when somebody takes something from us. So somebody takes your food or your shelter or whatever. I think that it's natural that we get angry about that, and it's probably something that's wired into us as a survival instinct. So what if nowadays, as time moves on, that pie that is, hey, here's all the things people can take from you, here's all the things you value, what if it's becoming more information, okay? Which, in other words, it's becoming more things that can be taken from you without being taken, without you losing anything, like the whole copy and paste thing. So how will that change our views of, so you've got the person saying, oh, those bastards are taking my data, but really it's like, okay, the fear or the anger or whatever that you have about that, what's it really coming from? Because if they're still leaving your data and they're not using it to like break into your bank account, then how's it really hurting you? So I love to think that as we move forward, that privacy is changing, hopefully in ways that are awesome. That is like, so sharing is becoming so much easier. And then, oh, and forget just data, even physical objects. Look at MakerBot, a device that can create things out of plastic. They'll carve. So it's like, hey, I need some new glasses, or I need a new microphone or something. I mean, we're getting really close to the time when we can just make our own stuff. Anyway, so that's one thing, and what do you guys think of that?
Alan, I love it when you two go at it. What do you think?
I don't know. You actually decided to pit us against each other on a topic we're probably pretty close on about. I think the points about how you're taking something without taking something, that's goes to the same arguments about people who are pirating music. And forgive me for using the term pirating music, but it's that same sort of thing. What am I stealing by having music? I've taken nothing from you. You still have full rights to use the music you've generated and so forth. But I think Scott makes some very good points there. I think where you start treading over the line is where you get to what he said. At what point is the data now usable to get money out of my bank account? At what point is the data that people have accumulated about me able to be used in a social engineering attack against somebody else to get information you want from them? I think there's, and I see Scott wants the attention back again, I think there's a fine line between privacy and data that we don't really want to get leaked out and data that is okay to leak out.
Scott?
Cool. Yeah, something that Alan just said caused me to think, okay, so one of those negative scenarios about, everything being known is that people could get into your bank account. Okay, so they've got your passwords, let's say. What I love is that's what's going as we move ahead into a time where we're sharing so much more. Well, then abundance. We have abundance, so maybe we care a lot less about the whole bank account thing in that time. It's like we're moving in that direction. And yeah, I get it that it's like a Star Trek thing where it's such abundance so you can have anything you want. But, I think that there's a path that leads there. I don't know if we're on that path or not. I actually like to think that we are. And I think that not only understanding how that path could happen, but believing that it can happen helps make it happen. Like me saying this right now could influence all of you guys 1% or whatever percent to believe a little bit more that we can go there, to instead of this scarcity mentality that is quite prevalent right now. A lot of people are afraid about, a lot of people lost their jobs, a lot of people are afraid about losing their jobs. A lot of people are a lot more poor right now. I think most of us are seeing that. I'm making an assumption. Okay, I'm going on and on.
It's okay. It's okay. Speaking of 1%, it's good to see Mike Phillips here, joining us. He's representing the 1%. Good to see you here, Mike. And I think privacy, in general, I think it's a compromise. I mean, you want to be able to do certain things, and you give up certain rights. And one other thing, there's this big. Again, we're totally off topic, but I want to get Alan's take on this. You mentioned music streaming. And I was thinking that now they're all concerned about stuff that's in the cloud, and that's a whole different thing you should have to pay for again, right? And your first inclination, like you shouldn't be able, like they're concerned about the iCloud and all these services where you can take your music and you can stream it. And at first glance, you think, well, this is just stupid. You've bought the damn song. You should be able to listen to it and store it. What's the difference between storing it in your hard drive and storing it in iCloud or an Amazon service or any of these other competing services that are coming out? But if you take that argument to its logical conclusion, just because you went to a movie theater, and I'm still here, If you went to a movie theater to watch a movie, that doesn't mean you've paid to see the movie, $15 or $10. That doesn't mean I can watch it on Amazon Prime for free, or I can watch it on Netflix. That doesn't mean I can go to Redbox and I've already paid for this movie. I could, you know what I mean?
But here's the thing. Let me phrase it to you this way. At the same time, can you walk out of that theater and go to your friend and tell them what the movie was about? Can you tell them the best lines? Can you tell them word for word what happened?
Well, I just show them because I have a little camera. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, I mean, again, it starts turning into what rights do artists and creators of material have towards something, and what rewards can they be expected to get back from it? There's a lot of convoluted issues surrounding intellectual property going on, and I think I saw Mike join, so maybe he'll have something to say on this.
Yeah, Mike, I think you're good talking. If you're listening, there might be an echo issue, but I think if you're talking, you're fine. But what are your thoughts?
Let's test this. Can you hear me? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
You sound terrific, as does Bruce, who is showing off his new microphone that you recommended.
Yes.
What do you think about? Bruce? You can see. He's coming in and out. He was mobile first, and then. What do you think? What's the state of privacy today? You think, with influenced by? I wish Jeff Jarvis were here. He could really nail us.
What is the state? What is the state of privacy now?
I'm not sure how to encapsulate what Scott was alluding to.
I'm sorry, Dan. I was distracted and I didn't hear everything Scott was saying, but I can give you sort of a short answer to the question, and it's possibly even somewhat of a cynical answer. Privacy has become somewhat of an illusion, and it certainly in legal circles is a major struggle to try to preserve any privacy that we can. I think that HIPAA was, for example, a major effort to try to restore some privacy to individuals. I'm not convinced that the effort is being successful. I know that if you look at, for example, databases, if you look at access to information, 123 Live, the criminal records, the proliferation of computers, what's privacy? I can give you your social security number in about 15 minutes if you want it. So what's privacy? I don't think it's there. I think it's going to become, and it's kind of as a social comment to that, what really astounds me is how many younger people are not concerned with loss of privacy. They seem to be okay with it. Well, if the government is going to protect us from the boogeyman, then we need to give up our privacy. I don't buy that. I don't understand it. I think that something possibly even cataclysmic has to happen before people realize that there is a reason we protect our privacy. It's because others will take advantage of us with that inside and powerful information. So I'm not really enthusiastic about privacy in present times.
I think you have a good point. I think that we're going to have a new era, just like when your parents may have gotten upset, or your grandparents, about Elvis dancing on television. They wouldn't show him, from the waist down because of his sexual gyrations. And now, of course, they're basically softcore porn on some of these music videos. So times have changed. I think that this next generation, as they grow up, is just going to be assumed that everyone has a plethora of really embarrassing pictures from MySpace or Facebook from years ago when they were a kid. It's just everyone's that way, so nobody cares, I think, as we go on. But the potential for...
But you talk about privacy on Facebook pictures, though. Is that really a privacy issue? If you consent to have your picture taken in a compromising position and you don't exercise proper control and dominion over those pictures, I'm not so sure someone's invaded your privacy when they put them on Facebook.
Correct. Maybe it's not a privacy issue,
but it's stupid.
But potentially you could make a decision as a young teenager that perhaps you wouldn't have agreed with when you're 30 trying to transition careers. That's what I'm getting at. But yeah, it's not really a privacy
does
issue.
Teenager mean 18, or does it mean 17, or does it mean 14 as the age of consent? What does teenager mean?
Well, I know
Well, there
those
also
kids
comes
I've
into
seen
question, what if these are pictures that somebody else took of you when you were 14 and you couldn't consent to it?
Yeah, I'm
What if
more
these are pictures
referring
from your
to
parents?
dumb decisions
What-
by kids
Well,
that come
even
to haunt you
beyond
later.
dumb decisions like kids, what this is basically saying in some ways is that we can't ever escape our past. We can't ever live down a mistake, which, you know, or maybe it means that you're going to have people who say, well, yeah, that was a dumb kid, and, you know, hey, yeah, there are pictures about him all over the place now, but he was a dumb kid then, and he can be elected president now.
All right, let me get...
and was.
The 1% speaks. I'm picking on Mike now. All right, let me... I want to talk about this really stupid article that I read, and I'll take Alan's face off while I... This is a mini rant. This was just a dumb article from allfacebook.com. Obviously, not a Google Plus fan site. But anyway, this is just written... This is silly. It just says, posted by guest author. I don't even see that there's a byline. Here's what it says. Could Google Plus lose the battle against Facebook? Google Plus started out growing faster than any social network has so far, but may not be able to compete against Facebook longer term. The appeal is not sticking because many of the people that quickly flocked to Google Plus have made their way back to the comfort and familiarity of Facebook. In fact, the inability to keep users engaged has some observers wondering just how long Google Plus has to survive. And then they went blah, 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 just nonsense. And I've just said from the beginning, I'm going to bring Harold in here to talk about this this literary masterpiece. Google Plus is not... Some of us thought it was a replacement for Facebook. I remember... You know, you see that I think Leo famously had it, the picture, you know, moved, and it was like a little Google Plus, you know, I've moved as his Facebook photo. But really, it's different. As it's evolved and we've come to grips with what it is, largely defined, like every restaurant or school or neighborhood is, it's the same building in every town. It's just the people are different. And because of the way that this formed and the way it's set up, it just seems it's very different than Facebook and Twitter. You still need all three if you use all three. It's not a replacement. It's a different and I think a better one, but I find that spending more time on here. I'm preaching to the choir here. We're all fans or we wouldn't be in the show. But this is just a stupid article. Harold, am I wrong? Tell me this is just the next Pulitzer Prize winning investigative journalism piece. Steve Croft is going to be narrating this.
Okay. Yes. Well, what's happened is Google just came out and actually explained to us that this Google Plus is not a social network. It's basically, they said they're going to have one login for all Google services, and Google Plus is going to be part of the Google network and the Google search engine. It's not, they specifically said it's not a competitor to Facebook. It's a completely different thing, and it's basically one complete unit. It's part of Google. So that's the vice president was just talking about this, and this is what he said, that it's completely all one thing. It's all going to come together, and you will get on there, and you'll be able to do everything with one login.
Okay, you're right. I don't think I see him saying that. I saw the media saying that because that's the closest comparison. But it's sort of like Twitter. What the hell is it? You know, how would you explain it to somebody if you're talking to someone on another planet or who's been in prison for 4 years and has never seen Twitter? How would you really explain it? It's hard. You kind of have to use it because I mean you can explain it. It's like Othello, a minute to earn, a lifetime to master. Like say it's a microblogging service, but not really. It's like text messaging, but it's public. You only have 140 characters, but you can follow news events. You can be a journalist and cover it. It's like, what are you talking about? It's kind of hard to explain. Let me give Mike, who's an attorney, and probably far more prepared during his legal stuff that he does, because of course the battle in a legal case is usually won in research, not in the actual dramatic courtroom bonanza that you see on TV. How would you explain to someone exactly what Google Plus is if they've never heard of it, or if you're trying to convince them to give it a shot?
Well, it keeps changing to some extent, so that's really a tough question. But Google Plus, I don't know. It's a forum where people get together to discuss, and this situation is a video hangout where up to 10 people can participate with audio and video in a room. As far as the timeline is concerned, I'm probably not the best one to ask because, quite candidly, I don't think the timeline is that user-friendly. For example, whenever I'm trying to catch up on things that I want to read, sometimes I find myself scrolling and scrolling, can't figure out where I came in, can't figure out where I left off. But it's, I don't know. I don't see I think that the social aspect of it is not quite as much as it is on Facebook. I mean, I'm looking at Jeffrey Powers, and I've been on a hangout with Jeff, and I enjoy reading his stuff, but I don't feel a particular connection with him, and I'm not sitting here reading about who his other friends are and who his family is and where he went to school and all that sort of thing. So I think the key word is it's a hangout. It's a multifaceted hangout.
That's an interesting observation. It is social, but in a different way. It's not true, like silly, friendly social. It's more, I don't know how to describe it. You're right. It's more like the stuff we talk
more
about.
More professionally social.
Yeah, you don't have any idea who I hang out with, or you know what I mean. But we're friends, I think now, and I really enjoy when you come on the show, and when I get to talk to you, and I even started calling into your Sunday program, which is a great program. It's called it's Sunday Eastern time from about 9 to noon. Noonish,
or
1 or 2, you know, depends how much coffee everyone's drinking. But it's at computers2know.com, and they should change the name now that it's 2011 because you guys started in '93, right?
Yes, well, it's a long story, but it's 2K now because it used to be 2K1, 2K2, 2K3, and we gave up on that, and now it's just 2K now.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say you could say
it makes no sense, but it's unique.
It's spelled like computers2know.com. That's what you could.
Yeah, but that can be the same thing. That makes even less sense, so it doesn't matter.
Okay, so yeah, but that's a great show, but yeah, you're right. That is an interesting observation. We don't talk about like how's the wife and kids. We talk about what do you think about this article, or they finally got Gaddafi.
It's more about current events, isn't it?
Yeah, or tech or what have you. But that's our circles. It depends who you've circled, and I see Alan is going to have a coronary, so before he becomes completely unglued, let's get Alan.
No, you haven't even begun to see me become completely unglued. But I think Mike has made an excellent point here, and that's these are social circles in what's more broadly defined as social. What we actually really think of as social when we talk about a social network, because in real life our social networks include people that we work with, clients that we work with, people we may know on the street, our neighbors, not just our family and our friends from high school, which is what Facebook tends to focus on. I think one of the key points that's really been missing that Harold touched on very briefly is what Facebook and Google are both competing for. And they're actually both competing to be an identity and universal login service. Yes, Google's made clear from the beginning that eventually everything's going to be brought under one umbrella, that their goal is to have a single account that you use to sign in for all your Google services. And Facebook has made very clear for a number of years now that their goal is to, if you're doing anything on the web, that you're going to log into Facebook first and then go do something on the web without having to log into any other websites. Google is sort of trying the same sort of thing in some ways. Everyone is competing to be the place that you log into. And they're doing that because they want to be able to collect your information and they want to be able to sell it. In one form or another, this touches back a little bit on what we were just saying about privacy. Google and Facebook are competing to be your primary login, your primary gateway to the rest of the web, because that's how they're going to make money.
Yeah, I think 65% of search is Google. And I find I use Facebook to check on my messages from my friends, my local friends here, and okay, not really my family so much. They would just text me, or call me.
Well, but here's the thing, Dan. What if, in order to, and I realize I'm going to be talking to a journalist, so this is going to be somewhat difficult. What if, in order to get access to the New York Times' website, you needed to log into Facebook first?
Well, I mean, I guess the Daily might
be the New York Times and WNYC run a website that requires you to log into Facebook first in order to access the rest of the content on the site. You can't log into Twitter first. You can't log into Google first. You have to log into Facebook.
I think it's a strategic decision, but and these things come and go. This gets to where, should you post original content on Google Plus, or should you post it on your own blog and then post a link to that content on Google Plus? That's probably the best way to do it, because you own your own site. That's your home turf. Social networks come and go. It wasn't too long ago that MySpace was it.
Here's the thing, Dan. Both Facebook and Google Plus, the best way to describe both of them is the social network is a facade to everything else that they want to do. Their goal, they both run a social network of various aspects, but the reason why they're running it is to get you onto the site so that when you go to other places on the web as part of your social activity, either because it's something that you want to read, because it's something that a friend shared with you, or because you want to do business with some other company, they want you to hit their website first so they can get that information about you when you go somewhere else.
That's disingenuous at best. That's the reality. That's where it's gone now. But I don't think that was the motivation for Mark Zuckerberg to start the site. That's like saying that.
I don't think Mark Zuckerberg understood what he was doing when he started the site.
Correct. Any more than
I think Google understood what they were doing when they started Google as a search engine. They didn't see how they were going to profit from it.
Yeah, you adapt and you grow. Twitter didn't set out like, let's overthrow a country, right? And I don't even think they knew what the heck they were making when they did it. It just kind of evolved. It was probably a lark. But anyway, that's like saying that my newspapers are not really newspapers. They solely exist to deliver advertising to readers, and it's posing as a newspaper. Well, no, that's not why I started a newspaper. I started a newspaper because I'm a news freak, and I just thought it was something I always wanted to do, and so I finally started the first one, then grew from there, right? So it is true that we deliver ads, and that without that we wouldn't be able to survive. But that's not the motivation that I got into the business. And as crazy as some of the things Zuckerberg's done, I don't think that it's fair to say that that it's a facade or a charade.
I think it's fair to say, however, that the way he has taken Facebook and the way Google has taken Google Plus is to do exactly that, is to basically make those two places your gateway to the rest of the web. The way Facebook has structured itself, the way Facebook has made their API to work with other websites, the way Facebook has encouraged other websites to funnel information back to them, has basically made it so that a lot more and more websites require Facebook logins to access them. Spotify. We were talking about streaming music before. Spotify requires a Facebook account to log in. Period. End of line.
I think that Google, they benefit. Facebook benefits, and I think it's a way to promote the site. They want you on Facebook. Just like I have on two of my newspaper websites, we use Facebook comments. The same thing that TechCrunch uses. That's where I found it, right? I thought this is cool. Now I'm wondering, like, is this a good idea? As once Google Plus came out, but it looks like everyone's going to stay on Facebook, which is cool because I don't have to switch it. But who owns that data, right? Yeah, they're growing, but that's the way it goes. I mean, just as if they could figure out. I mean, like when MySpace started MySpace Music, so they could get, in order to get some of this, to get your favorite artist, you'll have to do it through MySpace, and that's just common. I mean, that's just like when Kmart and Target now is putting grocery sections in. They're trying to get you to go to Target for the one-stop shop. That's just common business. I think we're reading too much into this. I think it's just traditional business strategy. Everyone wants everyone to shop at their store. I don't know.
Well, but here's the question then. It boils down to what is Google Plus then? And Eric Schmidt has told us what Google Plus is. He has said it is an identity service.
It is an identity service and is more. It's evolving, and I
No,
don't
that's a
think we
quote
know.
from Eric Schmidt. What was it, 3 months ago? He said, one of our goals with Google Plus is to create an identity service.
I see Scott has some observations about Eric Schmidt, but alas, we're out of time on this topic.
Oh, darn.
And we have to switch gears to a positive news story. This is really cool. This was Linus. Who wants to talk about Linus? And anybody read this article besides me? Oh, wow. You guys. I do all the work around here. All right, this was cool. After I read that silly article about how I just want to read the moronic one sentence here. In fact, the inability to keep users engaged has some observers wondering just how long Google Plus will be able to survive. And they show two chess pieces, one's knocked over. But there was an actual intelligently written article, not just because it's praising it, but I thought it was interesting. That's all. Really doesn't mean much. But Linus, help me on the pronunciation. Is it Torvalds? The founder, the guy who wrote Linux, or the lead. How do you pronounce his name?
Well, I think you've got the first name wrong too. I believe it's Linus.
Linus. See, I shouldn't have even. I should have thrown the buck to you, and kept the moronic news article right under your face there, so praying that would be the YouTube thumbnail, instead of a picture of me like I just got out of a morgue. I don't have a Facebook account. Yeah, it's cool. He just said. He said I spend all my time reading emails. I do merges, I do Linux development, but about a year and a half ago, I started using Gmail, the web interface for reading emails. It just made it so much easier when I travel. I don't have to copy email around. I went to Gmail, and it just worked. It works so well for me. I guess he's saying because it's cloud-based as opposed to like having Outlook on your computer. And then what about when you're on the road? It works so well for me that now when Google Plus came out, I had the Gmail account. It's integrated right there. So when I read email, I see small numbers that you have notifications on Google Plus. Google Plus by default just works better for me. That's exactly what they were talking about. About how
this is exactly what we were just saying.
Yeah,
I mean,
the key it really is a one-stop shop, because while they've got clobbered repeatedly in their previous attempts to do social, although you're arguing it's an identity service, and you're largely right, it is a social service as well. All of us are socially interacting because of the service, and otherwise would never have met. But they do have powerful presence that nobody could touch in things like search and mail, except Yahoo's competitive in mail, and some others. But that's true.
This goes exactly back to what we were just saying. Basically, Google's approach to hoping to win this battle, and I think it's a battle, not a war. Google's approach is saying, okay, we're going to take all of our services that are very popular, that even non-computer geeks use, and we're going to bring them all under one umbrella, so that if you use one, we're going to make it very easy for you to use all of these others. And once you start using all of them, you're going to want to keep using them because we do a very good job. Facebook has taken a slightly different approach. It said, we're going to do one thing, we're going to do it very well, but we're also going to make it very easy for everybody else to tie into us. So that while Google is saying, okay, we're going to need to offer a music streaming service and we're going to tie it into Google+. Facebook is saying, we don't know anything about music streaming. Somebody else probably knows a great deal about music streaming. We're going to make it very easy for them to tie into us and for us to tie into them. And that way, everyone who's doing the things they're really, really good at can do it. Google is saying, we need to be really, really good at everything. It's two approaches to essentially the same thing, and that's integrating everything under one umbrella. Facebook is just saying different people own the umbrella. Google is saying we own the umbrella. I don't have a strong opinion. Well, I guess I do have a strong opinion about which way is better because I tend to be on Google Plus more than Facebook now. But I think there are trade-offs to each side.
Okay, I agree. And what I want to do is I want to go because we're way, way over time.
Ooh, yeah, we are.
And thank God it's not like the old days with YouTube where I'd have to chop this sucker into like 15 different pieces to upload it. The last official thing here, because I guess our buddy from Egypt had to go. I have no idea what time it is there. It's probably crack of dawn. But creative uses of Hangouts. And while he's talking here, if anyone else in the Hangout wants to weigh in on this or anything else, just say it in there and I'll call on you and then we'll wrap it up. There are some new uses for Hangouts, which are cropping up, and I think was it you, Alan, who mentioned Stanford?
Yes.
Yeah, tell us about this whole thing and how that went and some creative uses for Hangouts. And anybody else who wants to weigh in on anything, let me know in the chat room, and let's do it.
A little bit about the background on this. Stanford, I believe it's Stanford anyway, is apparently offering 2 courses this semester online. Open registration to anybody who is interested. And when I mean anybody, it means anybody. So their artificial intelligence class, which is considered one of the top AI classes in the nation, currently has 50,000 students in it from around the world. Today, the professors ran office hours in a Hangout. And it was billed ahead of time as the world's largest Hangout. They were expecting probably a sizable portion of the 50,000 registered students to try to get in at some point in time. And if they weren't able to get in, they were going to be checking out the live stream of the office hours. When I stopped paying attention to it, people were mostly complaining about video quality, audio quality, and a shocking number of people were surprised to learn that only 10 people were allowed in a Hangout. Why they thought 50,000 would be able to do anything useful in a Hangout at once, I don't know. So why they thought that was possible beats me. But we're beginning to see Hangouts used for these sorts of things. In this case, it was office hours at a school, so we're seeing the educational presence. We've seen music for a long time. One of the big things that I'm seeing more and more now is that celebrities, instead of starting their own Hangout, they are saying, hey, advertise your Hangout, and maybe I'll drop in and visit you. So that's an interesting reversal, an interesting way to use Hangouts to invite celebrities into your house almost, and hey, here they come in and drop by. So we're seeing that happening more and more. When I attend the Hangout office hours with the Hangout developer staff, they're always asking people, how are you planning on using Hangouts? Education is a very popular response. Distance learning, same sort of thing. I've heard a couple of people discuss how to do telemedicine over Hangouts. We're seeing games over Hangouts. We're seeing business conducted over Hangouts. We talk about creative uses. I think it's almost turning into just about anything that you can do in person. I hesitate to say just about. I almost hesitate to picture that. People are trying to do in a Hangout.
Thus the moderator
we're going
controls.
to see how that all evolves.
Yeah, I think it's cool. I think that the Stanford experiment gone awry was they were probably a victim of the kids not testing it first. You know, trying to do it the first time as this big, without a dress rehearsal, and realize some basic things like the limitations on the number of participants per Hangout. But I think the sky's the limit. It's really cool. It's like all the different ways you can use Skype, but it's just different. It's group, and it's free, so it's more accessible. You know, you could have people in the, you could teach. I guess you could teach people a foreign language in a country. I mean, all sorts of things. You know, and the fact that it's free and accessible to anybody who has internet, which is a growing number of the population, not like 10 years ago. So it's exciting. It's an exciting time, and it's exciting to be part of this first wave of development as we go. Any final thoughts, Anthony? You're sitting there behaving yourself?
Nothing to add.
Okay. Let's see, Mike's moving around. Mike, did you have a good week? You getting ready to get geared up Sunday for computers2know.com, starting at 9 a.m. Eastern Time. I think
If you were talking to me, I had a glitch here, so.
I see you relocated. I just said I guess you've had a good week, and I look forward. I'll see if I could watch, if not call for a little bit for computers2know.com, which is a great show. It's been, what year did you start? 93, was it?
1993. Amnon started it as a radio show.
Ah, okay. I was going to say, because that's really early on to have a. That's cool.
He actually has tapes from those shows that he will stream 24/7. He has a little low bandwidth radio channel. I think it's Computers 2K Now/radio. And it's just fascinating to listen to them talk about a brand new 20 gig hard drive has just been released, and for only $750 you can get one. It's just
funny.
fascinating to listen to that. I wasn't a part of it back then. I've only been a part of it, and probably for the last 3 or 4 years I was a guest on it, but only in the last year, since it's become an internet-only show, have I been actively involved in it. But what we do, and we're glad for anyone to participate, it started out as trying to help people fix their computers, but over time it's gravitated into quite a few other things, even to the point that sometimes we get into politics and other things as well. That's not our primary objective, but sometimes that's what we do. But one of my interests, involvement there, and what I like, what people here may be interested in with regard to technology, is that we actually broadcast the show video on in Bamboozer, but we also will involve people who call in by Skype, whether it's video, Skype audio. We include regular telephone. We are tied into Pal Talk two-way so that people in the Pal Talk News Network room can participate. Gary Baumgarten's room over there. We also tie into TalkShoe. People who call in through a SIP client or by telephone to TalkShoe are automatically put on the air. We will often simulcast by broadcasting, which is audio only, on Mixlr, mixlr.com. The fun is to try to tie these technologies together and to make it kind of a super hangout in multiple media where people can get together. One of the things that we're going to do probably in the next month or so is we're going to actually tie in a Google Hangout. So people who join a Google Hangout will be on the air for our program. The only thing we're waiting on is we've got to set up a different video. We're running out of mixed minus signals and so forth, so we've got to set that up. It's a lot of fun. It's just kind of a technology challenge, and people here who are technology oriented might get a kick out of it.
Yeah, it's a great show, and you talk about all kinds of crazy stuff. The state of the cell phone network in India, or like what you were talking about, the hard drives. And I remember my first computer in 1990. I think it was a 286 with an amber monitor, just one color, and it had I think a 40 megabyte hard drive, and it was probably, I don't know, $1,200-$1,500 for the whole thing. I'm guessing. I can't remember.
$24.95, my first one.
Yeah, it was. They've come. They're a little cheaper now and a little faster.
Yep.
But anyway, I want to thank everybody in the Hangout for doing the show tonight. We had other people in here earlier, but let's see. We got Alan, of course, up there. We got Anthony and Mike, and then me. But you're looking at you look at the live stream. That's why he's up there twice. And then of course Scott Swain. Anyway, so thanks guys. I really appreciate you being on the show tonight. That wraps up this episode of Google Plus Week. You can always circle me on Google Plus. Thanks to Mike. My new URL redirect is danmcdermott.net. danmcdermott.net. Hey, thanks for watching. I'll see you next Friday live, 8 p.m. Eastern Time on Google Plus.